Being an entrepreneur is quite lonely, especially if you're going at it on your own. And this is why many entrepreneurs look for people to do this business with, a partner, someone that they can bounce ideas with, share the risk, and do the business together so that they can support each other and not be as lonely as those entrepreneurs that do the business on their own. However, having a partnership is like a marriage, and this is something that you're going to be committing to for the long term. I mean, maybe not forever, but definitely it's a long-term relationship. And if you decide that you're going to have a partner, you need to make sure that it is the right partner that you're going to be with. There are times that having a partner is a good idea if you can support each other and complement each other. Because the last thing you want to do is have a partner and you both want to do the same things, and there are parts of the business that neither one of you want to do. And that is just not going to work. So there are certain things, certain elements that you need to consider when looking or considering a partnership with someone. So in the show, I want to share 6 of those elements that you want to consider. And as I'm going through each of them, I want you to think through a partnership that you might be considering, or maybe a partnership that you already have. And are you meeting these requirements? And if you're not meeting these requirements or these elements, you may want to have a healthy, positive discussion with your partner so that you can be in alignment in each of these elements so that you can have not only a positive, but also a very prosperous relationship. Okay, so the first element that you should have when looking or considering a partnership is, do you both understand the business? Because if one of the partners does not understand the business, there are going to be expectations that are not going to be fulfilled because they don't understand the business. And what I mean by understand the business, it means that you need to understand the industry and the franchise in which you're getting into. Every industry is different. What's going to happen or how you run or how a food service operates is completely different from how a pet store operates or a spa operates. So to be healthy, positive partners, you both need to understand the industry and, like I said, the franchise itself, because even within the same industry, the different brands operate differently, and you need to be able to understand the business fully, even though you are both not going to be doing the same thing or operating the same elements, but understanding the business will come a long way when it comes to be able to have healthy discussions. You need to be able to understand the financials, because if you are not knowledgeable on how business works, how the numbers work, you're going to be wondering whether the numbers are right or not. So even though, again, maybe one of you will do the financials and the other one is just going to read them, you need to be able to understand them so that there is clarity and there is no wondering about, is there something wrong or not? Also, it's important that you understand the work that it requires to do whatever part of the business there is. Because sometimes people think that something is easier than it really is. And they wonder, why are they not, doing it faster or better, right? And so being able to know and really truly understand what the work is, it will come a long way, again, for having and meeting expectations. Having a detailed understanding of the business, the industry, the franchise will have you have realistic expectations of each other. I can tell you that the biggest issues in partnerships come from either issues with money or issues with unfulfilled expectations. And the unfulfilled expectations come from not understanding the business. So make sure that if you're going to go into partnership with someone, that both people, you and them, are fully knowledgeable and understanding what the business is and what it requires, so that there is no unfulfilled expectations. Okay? All right. So let's go to element number 2. And that is, if you're going to have a partner, make sure that you can both contribute to your business in very specific but different ways. The goal is that you have, or you're contributing complementary but not competing value. Because when you have, let's say that you have 2 people that want to do the same thing, like I mentioned earlier, then you have a competition and one person wants to do it their way, another person wants to do it their way. And that brings a lot of challenges and disagreements between partners. Okay, so make sure that you can both contribute to the business, ideally in different ways that complement each other. The third element that you want to consider is that you need to have clarity of the roles. And what I mean by that is, each of you should have a distinct role. It is kind of attached to the value that you bring, but these roles within the company should literally be so clearly defined that you literally document what those roles are so that there is zero ambiguity as to who is responsible for what. And as you are going through this partnership, there are going to be activities that are going to come up and you're going to be having to discuss, okay, is that something that you will be responsible for or something that I'm going to be responsible for? Every time something like that comes up, you need to assign responsibility to one of you so that somebody owns those activities and it is clearly defined and not competing or overlapping. Also, these roles, or the role of each one of you, should have metrics of success because we need to hold each other accountable, right? We have our responsibilities. What are the metrics of success for those responsibilities? Both partners should have those metrics so that we make sure that we are contributing the way that we're supposed to be contributing. And those metrics of success are going to give us this. Now, everybody will have a primary responsibility, right? This is your role. That does not mean that you're never going to contribute to the other person, your partner. Ideally, you want to have a positive and open and collaborative relationship. So you're going to have responsibility on certain responsibilities attached with metrics of success, but that does not mean that you cannot then conversate and talk and collaborate with your partner in other responsibilities. Let's talk about them as secondary responsibilities because they are responsible for, but people, the whole point of having a partnership is that you can do a business with someone where you can bounce ideas off of. And while you might be responsible for example, sales, it doesn't mean that you could not, bounce ideas of your partner about any sales tactics or strategies that you're thinking to implement in the organization. So still, make sure that you have that open collaboration so that you can still enjoy the idea of having a partner. Okay, so let's go to element number 4 of having a great partner. And that is that you are both aligned in the company culture and values. Because if one of you is more focused and on growth, and the other one is more focused on operational excellence, and it is really a challenge that pulls each other, then of course there's going to be conflict. And the idea of these elements that I'm sharing with you is let's go through these elements so that we can have alignment and reduce those potential conflicts. So when it comes to alignment on the company culture and values, ideally you want to create them together because that way, if you create a charter, right, your mission, vision, and values, and agree on what are the things that are important for the company that you're going to be using to dictate your activities and your decisions, there will be alignment between you two. Also, it's not only about creating what those are or writing them down, but actually be willing to live them every day and to drive them in the organization every day. It is going to be very important that you have that alignment. And again, like I said, use those values, those decisions, that mission, vision, or those priorities that you have agreed upon to help you make decisions along the way. And if you're both making decisions based on the same principles, the same values, then you're going to be in alignment on what those decisions are. So let's look at element number 5 of a great partnership. And that is to have great communication. And what does that mean? That means that both of you are open to hear each other's opinions, each other's thoughts, maybe each other's criticism or constructive feedback, should we call it? It's going to be very important because that way you can have a healthy conversation. Now, to be able to do that, you need to be able to both of you be generous with what you say and generous in the way that we listen to each other. Because if we immediately get defensive when something negative happens, then that's not a positive, healthy communication. And so if you make sure that you have that generosity towards yourself and your partner so that you can actually hear what they're saying, it will end up in a positive relationship with them. Now, that means that you need to be also empathetic. Both of you as partners are going to go through difficult situations on each of your different roles. If you are, one of you is focusing on development, you're going to find challenges and issues, when it comes to development. Maybe you can't find locations. Maybe there is an issue with the rental agreement. Maybe a landlord is rude. You're going to be going through challenges. And so, your partner hopefully will be empathetic as to that. And you can imagine if you're the operator, you're going to be going through staffing issues, people quitting on you. You're going to might have to end up running shifts. Who knows, right? There are issues happening all the time. And so not only do we need to be generous with each other, but empathetic in the fact that we are both going to go through challenges that we need to make space to understand and support each other through that. Something else within the communication part, it is really important that you can both negotiate as well as compromise in a positive positive way. Now, sometimes, you had to compromise, you had to give in. Now, the good thing about it is that if you have clearly defined roles, the last word on the responsibility on each of your roles should be to whoever's responsible for that role. So in that situation, there might not be much compromise. Just know that if somebody else is responsible for a specific thing, even though you might feel strongly about it, if they're the responsibility and they're responsible for the outcome and the metric out of that responsibility, you should provide your feedback, but let them be responsible for whatever actions they have. And again, be empathetic and generous if things don't work out. That is part of being a partner and being able to give each other the space to be able to be successful and to be able to fail once in a while. And that brings me to element number 6, which is that you both should agree on what are the goals of the business and what is the exit strategy. Because if you're clear on what are the goals of the business, whether it's, how many units you want to grow or what type of company you want to be or how fast you want to grow, and then especially when and how do you want to exit the company? If you start with that, that alignment, that agreement of what are the goals and the exit strategy for the company, you will be able to make decisions that is in alignment with that goal, and you will both be rowing in the right direction together. And that is why this is something that you should really be coming to an agreement before you even go forth with the partnership. So I hope that these 6 elements made you think about it. Maybe you have a partner right now, maybe you're considering a partner. If you go through these 6 elements, it will really help you bring that partnership to be, a healthy, positive one. Now, let me add before I end that some of these partnerships are between husband and wife. And that brings a whole new level of complexity when it comes to partnerships, because not only are you in this partnership with someone in business, but this is a marriage that hopefully will be there forever. And so the elements of generosity, the elements of compromise, the elements of communication will take a whole new level. But at the same time, the levels of responsibility for each of our tasks is going to be crucial. If we do not have these 6 elements in alignment with our husband or wife, our spouse, this could cause issues not only in the business, but in your personal life. And no business is worth your marriage. So I suggest that you sit down, go through this conversation, and make sure once, every so often that you sit and actually discuss all of these things. If something is there that is bothering you, any feedback that you want to provide, that you actually do that before it becomes a big deal. And if you are the one receiving this information, be open, be generous, be positive, be present so that you can solve this by compromising and negotiating so that you can have a positive outcome in which you can both be in alignment with. So I hope that this was of value to you and that this is something that you can use for your partner, for current or future partnership. And if that's the case, make sure to subscribe to our channel wherever you are listening to all this, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you and see you soon. Bye-bye.